Hi guys, how are you? I hope you are doing well and welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 23rd July 2022. So let's get started with our discussion and let us try to see first topic. So this topic it is about rupee depreciation. Yes, we are facing this problem of rupee depreciation, right? So in this context, we have to understand, so what is the exchange value of rupee, and we need to know about what is the role of RBI and what are the options which are present before RBI and what is the impact of this rupee depreciation. So here we have to think about both the positives and as well as negatives. So now let us try to see all these topics in a very great detail. And this topic is important from your economy point of view, which mainly comes in a GS paper 3. And the students who are preparing for this year means, yes, this topic is at most important. So they have to go through this topic once and they have to make the notes on this topic, because there are 95% of chances of getting this type of questions in your upcoming means. So now let us try to see the context. So as you all know that India's rupee is depreciating against US dollar. So Indian rupee has depreciated by around 7% against US dollar. So how much percentage here depreciation happened? That is about 7%. So 7% of depreciation which mainly happened, okay, till now against US dollar. So why? What are the reasons? The reasons might be here. We can talk about global reasons, that is international reasons, and even domestic reasons. So because of domestic reasons and as well as because of these global factors, yes, we can see there is depreciation of rupee. And now let's try to see what is this exchange rate of rupee. So I will try to explain in the layman terms, so that even though if you do not have any knowledge regarding economy also, you will come to know about this exchange rate. So if I want to buy $1, so how many rupees I have to give? So this is called as rupee exchange rate. So earlier I used to give $74 to 74 rupees to get $1, but now I have to give 80 rupees to buy $1. That means so I have to give more money in rupees to get $1. So in this way we can see the value of rupee had been decreased. This condition is called depreciation. So to opposite of this depreciation, we will be having one more term, that is appreciation. So appreciation means nothing but now I am giving dollar 80 rupees to get 80 rupees to get $1. So to buy $1 I am giving now, for example, 80 rupees. So in future, for example, after 1 month or 2 months, so I have to give 75 rupees to buy $1. So the value of rupee which is increasing here, okay, we have to pay less number of rupee to buy the same dollar. So this condition is called as appreciation. So I hope you understand what is the difference between depreciation and appreciation. Okay, so what is rupee exchange rate? So rupee exchange rate means, so how many rupees I am going to give to buy $1, it is called as rupee exchange rate. So this is very important metric to buy not just US goods but even other goods and services where we are paying in this US dollars. So why this rupee exchange rate is important? Because actually we are getting imports from other country. So if you are taking any country, it is not self-sufficient. So what are the products which they need? What are the goods? What are the services they need? They are not producing within the country. So here, because of a deficit, they are bringing the goods from other countries. So that led to the increasing of concept of this globalization, right? So one country depended on another country for the goods and services. So in this era, yes, we need to depend upon the other countries to get our needs, to satisfy our needs. So here, because of this, here rupee exchange rate is very important. And here whenever we are paying in this US dollars where we are getting goods and services, so in that area, so this metric is very important. So whenever rupee depreciating means whenever the value of rupee is decreasing, means I can say imports will going to become costlier. So imports will become costlier and exports will become cheaper. So this is about in detail regarding rupee exchange rate. And now let us focus on what might be the reasons. So as I said, reasons might be global and even domestic. So let us try to see one by one in detail. So first one here is global reasons because of this Russia-Ukraine conflict. So global factors like Russia-Ukraine conflict, so that led to soaring of crude oil prices. So because of this increasing of this crude oil prices, that led to inflation. So why increasing of this crude oil prices are led to inflation in the country? Okay, so if you're talking about crude oil, so we are mainly importing about 85% of crude oil from other countries. Like for example, you can talk about Saudi, you can talk about recently we are getting oil from this Russia as well. So what happened whenever we are getting our crude oil from other countries, whenever there is increasing of this international prices, so here when we want to move our good from one place to another place, so we need to depend upon this transportation. So transportation cost will be increased. So whenever there is increasing of transportation cost, overall cost of the product, the price of the goods and services will be increased. That will lead to inflation. And if you're talking about especially, so what is the relationship between this Russia-Ukraine conflict and depreciation? So global factors such as Russia-Ukraine conflict that led to increasing of this crude oil prices and even tightening of this global financial conditions. So because of this, they mainly act as a major reasons for the weakening of Indian rupee against US dollar. And apart from that, significant dollar demand from oil importers that led to elevated crude oil prices. So because of this, we are facing trade deficit, that is imports are increasing compared to that of exports. So because of this, what happened, that also has some impact on the decreasing of value of Indian rupee. And what will be the impacts? So here from impact side, we can talk about positive impacts and negative impacts on Indian economy. So if we're talking about negative impacts, so what happened? So whenever we are getting imports from other country, so imports become very costly or more expensive. So when dollar strengthens against the rupee, the importers, they will have to pay more rupees for the same dollars. So because of this, here imports, they will become costly. And also depreciating of rupee will also increase the cost of imports, and whenever there is increasing of cost of imports, that will put some extra pressure on the people pockets in the country, and that will also leads to increasing of inflation in the economy. And if you're talking about especially oil and gas, so oil and gas, they have been most adversely impacted sector because we are importing about 85% of our oil and half of the gas we consume, right? So this is about impact. And even we can see there will be some negative impact on the renewable energy also. So you will be thinking like, so why ma'am is saying that there will be impact on this renewable energy? Yes, there will be impact on the renewable energy, because actually if you want to go for setting up of the solar plants or solar panels, yes, whatever the thing that we are using there, that is solar cells, modules, that we are importing from other countries. So as I said, imports become costlier, so these products that we are getting from other countries will also be costlier now. So a weaker rupee directly impacts India's trade balance and inflation as well. So as I explained about how inflation will be related to this global crude oil prices, and that will also leads to current account deficit, because the cost of imports will be far more higher compared to that of this cost of exports. So because of this, we can experience high level of current account deficit, that is CAD. And costlier imports are also pushing up inflation domestically. So now let us try to say positive impact, that will be exports. So exports will get cheaper. So because our exports are getting cheaper, so there will be more demand for our exports in the international markets. Okay, so here especially pharma industry, especially IT industries, you are going to benefit with this depreciation of rupee. So this will be the impacts. And now let us see what is the role of RBI, that is Central Bank of India, in this depreciation of this rupee. So RBI, which have the important function, that is it will always monitors the foreign exchange market, and it will intervene in the situation wherever there is excess volatility that is seen in the market. So RBI, which mainly takes some measures to ensure foreign currency inflow into the country, and even it will go for overseas borrowing limits for the companies, etc. So in this way here, RBI, which mainly plays an important role in controlling of this depreciation of rupee. And now let us try to see one practice question. Discuss the major reasons and impacts of weakening Indian rupee against US dollar on trade patterns of economy. So I discussed about reasons and I also discussed about impacts. So in introduction you can write about depreciation of rupee. So what is the meaning of that, or why it is in news, and you can give some data like how I gave in the data, like introduction, like 7% of depreciation of rupee against dollar. So like that you can give the facts that you collect in the current affairs, and in body you have to address reasons and as well as impacts, and finally you can conclude accordingly. So this is the question. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding union of the sanctioned. So this article talking about Russia and Iran relations. It is talking about Russia and Iran relations. So this is important from your GS paper to under our international relations. And this article which is giving some insights regarding Russia's expansion or influence in the West. So what happened? What is the context? As you all know that Russia-Ukraine war which is mainly going on. So it is one of the hard surprise that Russian President Vladimir Putin, he chose Iran and another country at receiving end of Western sanctions. So he mainly chose the country where Western sanctions, that is US sanctions, are mainly imposed. Okay, not only Russia, as you all know that due to this Russia-Ukraine conflict, here US-led countries, they imposed sanctions on Russia, and even Russia, which is mainly banned from this SWIFT payment system as well. So not only Russia but even on Iran also, here US imposed a sanction. So in international relations, one thing you have to remember, enemy's enemy, okay, will be our friend. Friend is our friend. Enemy's enemy will be also our friend. So here US enemy here is Russia and one more enemy is Iran. So here the friendship, it is present between Russia and Iran. So this is some equation that you have to remember regarding international relations. And one more thing is friend's enemy will be our enemy. So here what happened, Russian president, he chose one country, that is Iran. So Iran is also receiving the end of Western sanctions. Iran is also receiving the sanctions from US. So Russia and Iran, they bought together by their opposition towards the West. Is why they come towards each other, because the common thing they are facing is sanctions from these Western countries. So because of this sanction from the Western countries, that has some impact on the economy of those countries, they are like Russia and Iran, and they brought together by their opposition towards the West. And already they had a strategic partnership in place, and they worked together in place such as Syria as well. Yes, before also they had partnership and they worked together in some places like Syria. And despite the cooperation between Russia and here Iran, tensions also have existed where Russia remained the big brother. So there are some tensions or concerns between Iran and Russia. Here is Iran says Russia, which mainly shows big brother attitude. But the war and the subsequent Western sanctions on Russia, they now added a new dimensions to the partnership between Russia and Iran. So here Russian President Putin, he also landed in Tehran. Okay, he landed in Tehran. So countries, they signed $40 billion energy memorandum of understanding. So they mainly talked about this Russia's Gazprom. It is one of the important oil company in Russia in developing energy fields and building LNG, liquefied natural gas projects and pipelines in Iran. Okay, so now they came up with memorandum of understanding regarding Russia's Gazprom. They are going to work along with this Iran for developing of this LNG projects. So last week, US has claimed that Russia was also seeking armored drones. So last week here US also alleged that Russia which is going to get armored drones and those will be deployed in Ukraine. So Russia here, which mainly battered by sanctions and rattled by the slow progress in the war. And it is also seeking to have some coalition of sanctioned by deepening of economic, defense and strategic partnership. Here Russia, which is mainly fighting against the sanctions which imposed by US, and now we are seeing there's a very slow progress in the war between Russia and Ukraine. And now here Russia, which mainly said that they are going to build a coalition. So in this coalition, which mainly includes a country, they are facing sanctions from this West, and they want to develop economic, defense and as well as strategic partnership between these countries. So in Iran, Putin, he also met Turkish president, Erdogan, and they discussed about Syrian civil war and United Nations proposal to allow grain exports from Ukraine ports via Black Sea. And this trilateral summit, that is between Russia, Iran and as well as Turkey. So at a time here, West seeks to isolate and punish Mr. Putin, shows the complex geopolitical moves and play in West Asia. Actually here, if you're talking about Turkey, Turkey is a NATO member. And Turkey, which mainly condemned the Russian war and supplied Ukraine with drones. But it refused to join this Western sanctions against Moscow. So because of this here, Russia, which mainly came forward and held talks with Turkey. So this visit also highlighted the importance of this West Asia. West Asia is very, very important because the great power rivalries are seen in this region. And here, Mr. Putin also said that US President Joe Biden wrapped up the Saudi-Israel tour. So if you're talking about this Russian president, his visit, his visit, it is after US president visit to the Saudi and Israel tour. So in this context here, Mr. Biden, he warned America's traditional allies like, for example, Russia, traditional allies. So here in this context, if you see US president, that is Mr. Biden, he warned America's traditional allies against Russia, China and Iran gaining greater influence in the region. So here Russian leader, he was in this Iranian capital, and here US Biden, he seeks to build trust, united front of American allies in the West Asia against Iran and as well as Russia. So here Russia, which is mainly want to come up with a good relation with the Iran. So what happened on another side? Here USA, which is mainly building some united front of American allies in this West Asian region. So this is against this this is against this Russia and as well as Iran. So Mr. Putin is betting on Iran to expand this Russian influence in the region in these difficult times. So here this article says that, so yes, there is a rivalry between US versus Russia and US also versus Iran. So Iran and Russia, they are coming together to form a coalition against the West, because these two countries, they are mainly having some battle against the sanctions which imposed by these US-led countries. And Russia also came up with the meet with the Turkey in Iran, and they came up with this trilateral summit, and in this trilateral summit they already signed some MOUs, that is Memorandum of Understanding. So even though Turkey, which is a member of NATO, which is not allowed, which is not accepted for the sanctions against this Russia. So this is one important thing. And here this article says that, so after once US, which mainly had its visit to Saudi and as well as Israel, so here this Russian president, he mainly made visit to this Iran, and they came with this trilateral summit. So here US president also warned that the traditional allies against Russia, China and Iran, they are gaining better influence in the region. So in this context here, Russia said that they want to expand Russian influence in this region in these difficult times also. So this is about this topic, and now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding Antarctic Bill. Antarctic Bill passed in Lok Sabha. So this article is important from your polity point of view, which mainly comes under your GS paper 2. So now let us try to see this topic in a great detail. So why it is in news? So already you know that in yesterday's lecture we said that this bill which mainly introduced in Lok Sabha, but there are some protests which are mainly done, and here the members, they are asking that they need more discussion. So Lok Sabha on Friday passed Indian Antarctic Bill 2022. So even though there is some discontent that is mainly seen from this opposition parties, and these opposition parties are saying that they need more discussion. So even though they demanded for the more discussion, so this bill which passed in the Lok Sabha. So now let us try to see some details. So there were no amendments to text to the bill, and it mainly passed through voice vote. So let me know what is this voice vote. So if you have completed your Polity Lakshmikant, yes, you will come across this voice vote. So Antarctic Bill, it was introduced in the Lok Sabha in April this year, and its overreaching aim it is to regulate visits and activities to Antarctica, as well as they want to set some ground rules for potential disputes that may arise among those present on this continent. So Antarctic Bill, which introduced in Lok Sabha in April, and it mainly focusing on some regulations of visits and as well as activities that need to be done in this Antarctica, etc. And this bill which also provides some penal provisions, that is, if there is any violation, so what is to be the punishment. So now let us try to see some key provisions of the bill. So it mainly focusing on regulating the visits. So first one is regulating the visits and as well as activities to Antarctica. So recently there is one report like, so whenever we are using these vehicles in this Antarctica, yes, from these vehicles that will lead some greenhouse gases, and even the black color soot, okay, black carbon will be released. So because of this black carbon which is deposited on this area, that is led to increasing of melting, right? So because of this, yes, we need to regulate the visits to this Antarctica, and we need to regulate the activities to this in this Antarctica as well. And if we are talking about applicability of this bill, so it will be applicable to Indians, it will be applicable to foreign citizens, corporations, firms, and as well as joint ventures who are mainly functioning in India. And it also prescribes some penal provisions as well for severe violations. It also prohibits Indian expedition to Antarctica or carrying of certain activities in Antarctica as well. So it also provides some inspection as well. And this one here is, it also provides for fund to be called this Antarctic Fund. So that will apply towards the welfare of Antarctic research, work, protection, and as well as Antarctic environment. So now let us try to see what is the need of this bill. Yes, India which already been signatory to this Antarctic Treaty since 1983 onwards. So because of this, so this treaty mainly says something mandatory, that is, so countries which are signatory to this Antarctic Treaty, yes, they need to come up with some laws, okay, regarding this activities in this Antarctica region. So India is also signatory of treaties like Convention of Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources and Commission for Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources, right? So here both they are mainly going to provide India to help and preserve this pristine nature of environment in this continent. So this is about this topic, and now let us try to see where is Antarctica located. So this is our South Pole, here we have our Antarctica, and you have to see some nearby islands. So here we have Falkland Islands, here we have Southern Ocean, here we have Ross Sea, Pacific Sea, New Zealand is present here, and Tanzania which is present here, Indian Ocean is there, and Southern Ocean, Weddell Sea, and here we have Atlantic Ocean. So in this way you have to remember this nearby surroundings as well. So this is about this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. So before seeing next topic, I want to make a small announcement. We in Rathod's IAS, we are conducting free webinar on mains answer writing tomorrow, that is on Sunday. So in this webinar, we are going to discuss about, so what is the pattern of examination, so how the pattern of examination has been changed, and how you have to focus on answer writing. So how you have to approach introduction, body and conclusion, how you have to write your essay and case studies. Okay, so there are a number of things we are going to discuss, and we are also going to discuss some previous questions as well. And in this way you can get some tips, okay, how to write answer, and we are going to give how you can get the success. And even we are going to focus on the 4 important areas to get the success in this mains answer writing and how to clear this UPSC. So this is a very useful session, and this session will be conducted on tomorrow. So if you want to register for this session, so the Google form is given in the description box and you have to fill this. So after filling this Google form, you will be getting webinar link tomorrow. I think 1 hour before or half an hour before the webinar, you will be getting the link. And after that, at that time, you have to join the webinar. And there you can ask your doubts, and this will be like a most interactive session that we had been had ever. Okay, so try to join that webinar. That will be very useful. So now let us try to see next topic. Title says, Emilia Clarke says she suffered 2 brain aneurysms. How do they affect blood vessels? So I think many of you might thinking like, why ma'am explain this topic? So as you all know, UPSC is highly unpredictable. So let us think like, so if there is any question which appeared regarding this aneurysms in your prelims or in your mains, so what will you do at that time? So we can't expect this UPSC, right? So we can't predict UPSC how the questions will be going to give. So let us see this topic. Just I will not take more than 2 or 3 minutes. So if there is a chance, if there is any question which appeared in your prelims, means yes, somewhere in your subconscious mind, so you will be thinking that yes, somewhere I read this topic like that. So that we should not take any choice, and let us try to see almost all the topics are important from your UPSC point of view. So this topic is important from your science and technology, which mainly comes under your GS paper 3. So what is the context? So actually she is actress. So she played an important role in the series of Game of Thrones. And recently in one interview she said that she suffered 2 brain aneurysms. Okay, so here you have to know about what is this aneurysms. So aneurysm is nothing but, in simple words, I can say, as you all know, we have different blood vessels. So if you see, this is our heart. So from heart, the blood vessels, they will be carrying the blood to different parts of the body, and from the different parts of the body, impure blood will be collected to the heart, and this impure blood will be sent to the lungs, and in the lungs the purification will be happening, and from lungs, here blood will comes into our heart, and from heart pure blood will be pumped to our all body parts. So here, to pump the blood from heart to lungs, lungs to heart, and heart to heart to different body parts, and different body parts to heart, yes, we have blood vessels. So in these blood vessels we have arteries and we have veins, right? So here, in either arteries or veins we have pure blood. Let me know here. So one question I want to pose here is, so pure blood which is flows in either arteries or veins. So let me know the correct answer in the comment box. So actually we have blood vessels. So in these blood vessels, so blood will be flowing. So we have arteries and veins are there. So whenever there is a swelling of these arteries or veins in our body, and it is mainly caused because of weakening of the walls of these blood vessels. So it is commonly seen in aorta, commonly seen in the knees, and as well as brain or intestine. So whenever this, after swelling of these arteries and veins, if they are rupturing, that will lead to internal bleeding and even sometimes stroke. So blood vessels of the brain and heart, they are the most common locations which are seriously affected by these aneurysms. So the swelling can be of 2 types. So either the complete blood vessels it is going to swell, or even a specific site is going to be swell. So what are the risk factors? So if you are having habit of smoking, age, that means increasing of age, and high cholesterol in the body, obesity, hypertension, tissue disorders, so those people are at high risk. So even the pregnancy women, they are going to face this aneurysm, especially the spleen. Spleen, it is a graveyard of our blood cells, and a device which is called as flow diversion stent. So it is one of the innovative intervention which is mainly used for the treatment of this aneurysm. So if you see this image, you can understand. So this is our artery, and here you can see bulge. It is bulged like a balloon. So this is called as aneurysm. Actually it is happened in the brain, so it is called as cerebral artery aneurysm. So whenever it is rupturing means what happened, the blood will be released out and the blood clot will be seen in the brain. Okay, so it is called as aneurysm rupture. So now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding crimes against scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So this article that you can use this data in ethics and even in your society point of view. So here this article is very important for your mains, and this article which mainly provides the data. So you can copy this data in your data book so that this data can be used in your mains answer for sure. So context here is, so cases of crime against scheduled caste and scheduled tribes have risen progressively in years between 2018 and 2020. So between this 2018 and 2020, so there is rampant increasing of crimes against scheduled caste and scheduled tribes which is seen. So now let's try to see the data. So cases registered for crime against scheduled caste rose from 42,000 to 50,000, that is between 2018 and 2020, and the crimes against scheduled tribes which mainly increased from 6.5 thousands to 8.2 thousand cases. So here if you are talking about the report, so the number of cases registered in 2018 against SC, that is scheduled caste, were 42,700, and 2019 45,900, and 2020 it is 50,200. And STs, that is scheduled tribes, in 2018 6.5k, and in 2019 7.5k, and 2020 8.2k. So crimes which are mainly seen in states like UP, Bihar, okay, against SCs and against STs. So we can see high number of cases from this MP and Rajasthan. Okay, so now let us try to see one more topic. It is regarding ethical values to be taken from our president. So as you all know, we elected our 15th president. So Draupadi Murmu is elected as first tribal president, and she is the 15th president of India, and she is the second woman president of India after Pratibha Patil. So she is from Mayurbhanj district in Odisha, and she came from Santal tribal community, and actually she started her career as a teacher, and then she entered into Odisha politics, and in 2015 she is sworn as the first woman governor of Jharkhand as well. And I think you might not knowing about her family status. So actually she had 3 children, and she lost her husband in year 2014, and he was a bank officer, and he has two boys and 1 girl. So here she lost her both the sons, and she has only 1 daughter now, and she also got married, and she is staying in this Bhubaneswar itself. So if we're talking about values, so what are the values that we can get from this Draupadi Murmu? And this type of questions are quite often seen in your UPSC mains in ethics paper. So we can get one value, that is simplicity. So she belongs to a humble background, and despite having risen in her political and social status, she maintained her humbleness and simplicity in her lifestyle. And we can also learn dedication. So dedication towards political career and as well as social causes, and she has a lot of courage, because after losing her husband and even 2 sons, she was courageous enough to carry on with her life and as well as social work. And we can also learn empowerment and as well as emancipation. So here, being a woman from a tribal family, she fought all odds to get an education, and finally she entered into politics, and she is now inspiration for the number of millions of tribal girls as well. And if you are talking about some facts regarding the Santal community, so it is the 3rd largest scheduled tribe in the country after Gond and as well as Bill. And this Santal community, which is mainly seen in states like Jharkhand, Odisha, and as well as West Bengal regions. So these Santals, they speak Santali language, and they have their own script, that is Old Chiki, and this language which also included in 8th schedule of our Indian Constitution. So if you see this image, so this image I took from this ndtv.com. So here this image which is mainly showing about the brief history of this Draupadi Murmu. So from Odisha village to Rashtrapati Bhavan. So she born on June 20th, 1958, and she is from Mayurbhanj district in Odisha, and she did arts graduation from Ramadevi Women's College, Bhubaneswar, and she is the first tribal woman to become the country's president, and she is the youngest to become president, and she is just 64 years now, and she is the second woman to be elected after Pratibha Patil. And if you're talking about beginnings, so she born in Santali tribal family, and she was the first woman in her village to leave Bhubaneswar for the college degree. And even she started her career as a school teacher and worked as a government clerk before joining BJP in 1997. And if you're talking about family status, her husband Shyam Charan Murmu, he was a bank official. He died in year 2014, and she also lost both her sons at the age of 25 and 21 years. And she had daughter now. Daughter name is Itishri Murmu, and she is married and she lives in Bhubaneswar itself. And if you're talking about highlights of career of this Draupadi Murmu, so she elected as a councillor and becomes the first vice chairman of this Nagar Panchayat in this Rai Rangpur in 1997, and she elected as a 2 times as MLA from BJP party, and she also acted as a minister in Naveen Patnaik government, and she also got one award as a best legislator. And later on, from 2015 to 2021, she worked as governor of Jharkhand, and 2022 she elected as 15th president of India. So this is the history of this Draupadi Murmu. So as you all know that now we got our second president who is a woman in India. So this is one of the, I can say this is one of the step towards women empowerment, and number of women, they will take this as inspiration, and they are mainly going to come up in the different fields in the near future. So now let us try to see the next topic. It is regarding opium production. So I think you might have known about this opium, right? So now why this opium is in news? So we have to know government opened opium production and processing to private players. So why government took this decision? We have to know about this. So now let us try to see this topic in a great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that for first time the central government has allowed a private company, that is Bajaj Healthcare, to produce concentrated poppy straw that used to derive alkaloids. So these alkaloids can be used as active pharmaceutical ingredient API in some pharmaceutical products like painkillers or pain medications and even cough syrups. So because of this is the news. And now let us try to see details. So MOVE also aimed at offsetting the declining area under cultivation of poppy in India. So the MOVE also aimed at offsetting the declining area under cultivation of poppy in India. So last year government allowed the production of this opium gum and concentrated poppy straw. Okay, so last year government already gave the permission. And if you're talking about background, India has been started growing this poppy since 15th century. So later on Britishers, they entered into India, and here the British East India Company, which assumed monopoly on this cultivation of this poppy, and entire trade was brought under this government control by 1873. And if you're talking about regulation of the growing of this opium in India, yes, we have number of provisions. We have at present Narcotics and Psychotropic Substance Act and rules to control the cultivation and even processing of this poppy and opium in India. So due to illegal cropping fear, so opium, which is allowed to grow only in the tracts of field which is notified by the central government in 22 districts in the states of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. So government also announces the license policy for opium cultivation every year. So this entire quantity is bought by government and processed in its own factories as well. So only 12 countries including India, they allows this cultivation legally and only for medicinal use. So this is the plant of this opium, and this is fruit and this is flower. So on this fruit we will be making some incisions, and to these incisions here we will be getting raw opium, and from this raw opium we are going to prepare this opium tincture, and this opium tincture that can be used for the different purposes like production of morphine, codeine, narcotin, piperine and as well as etc. So these will be some major active ingredients that will be present in this opium tincture. Okay, so these are some important articles that appear in our today's Hindu, and as well as these are the current affairs that I collected from other sources as well. So now let us try to see Hindu newspaper PDF. So this is our Hindu PDF and date here is July 23rd and this is Delhi edition. So now let us try to see some important articles that you have to refer other than these articles. So first topic here, it is regarding girls excel in CBSE class 10th and class 12th examinations. So here CBSE released the results yesterday, and here Central Board for Secondary Examination declared the results of both 10th class and as well as 12th class, and they found the pass percentage of 94% and 92%. 92% in 12th class and 94% in the class 10th. And in this results, girls outshine the boys, and the pass percentage of the girls is 95% and boys pass percentage is 93%. Okay, so this is one article you have to know. And now let us try to see some more articles. Let us move forward. There is nothing much important from your city page today, and you can directly move on to this page, that is page number 5. You can see here launch of Jharkhand Tourism Policy 2021. So if you are from Jharkhand state, yes, you have to know some tourism sites that are present in your country for sure. And if you move forward here in this editorial page, so there is one article, it is regarding this currency. You have to go through that once. And this one here, it is regarding rupee depreciation. I discussed this topic, and I also discussed regarding this Iran-Russia issue and Iran-Russia meet as well. And if you move forward in this news page, you can see there is one article regarding the simultaneous elections. So this simultaneous election is one of the important topic. So here this article says that 50 state polls held from 2014 to 2020-22. So issue of holding simultaneous elections for Lok Sabha and Assembly elections had been referred to the Law Commission for a practicable roadmap and framework can be worked out. So here Law Minister, he mainly said that we can come up with the simultaneous elections. So in a written reply, and they came up with a report of parliamentary panel, and they said that frequent elections led to disruption of normal public life and impact on the functioning of essential services. So here we can come up with the simultaneous polls that mainly reduces the expenditure incurred to conduct the separate elections, and even that will be also helpful to improve the quality of life. There will be no disruption for the people, and as well as there will be no disruption for the public life, etc. Okay, so this is about this topic. And now let us try to see some more important articles. And here you can see USAID agency chief to visit India on July 25th. So days after calling for grain exporting countries to step up efforts to avoid a hunger crisis. Yes, because of this Russia-Ukraine crisis, yes, in the world we are seeing there is rising of this hunger crisis. So mainly to address this hunger crisis, we are mainly focusing on grain exports. So in this context here, USAID administrator, she will arrive in India on a 3-day visit on Monday, and they are going to discuss some global food security issues and as well as climate change and agriculture experts, etc. They are going to have some meet. And this is about this topic, and actually here the visit which mainly indicates the growing US concerns over the fallout of Russia-Ukraine crisis, and even actually there is some impact on this global wheat supplies that is mainly seen. So actually these countries are called as the bread basket of world, but because of this crisis that led to decreasing of their exports. And if you move forward, you can see other articles that here is Saudi and UAE record most deaths of Indian workers. So this is very important because Indian diaspora, it is one of the important area that we need to think when we are talking about this international relations. So member countries of Gulf Cooperation Council, that is GCC. So let me know which are the countries members of this GCC in comment box. Don't forget about this. So please try to open your atlas and see those countries as well. So member countries of Gulf Cooperation Council witnessed the large number of deaths of Indian workers during the period that is 2019 to 2021. And in response to a question in Parliament, government on Friday, they laid down the numbers that revealed the highest number of deaths took place in United Arab Emirates and as well as Saudi Arabia. So in Saudi Arabia, 3,753 Indian workers, they died in 2020, and actually the number dropped to 2,328, and total of about 2,454 Indians, they died in this UAE in 2020. And if you see some more important article here, it is about Antarctic bill, which mainly passed in Lok Sabha. Okay, so I discussed about this topic in detail. And if you see in this page number 10, you can see article that is disability not a ground to deny boarding. So this is thing which mainly said by this DGCA tells airlines. So here Directorate General of Civil Aviation, which mainly amended the rules to carry disabled persons and explicitly stated that the disability should not be the ground for an airline to deny this boarding to these passengers. Yes, we need to come up with the rules and regulations that should be disabled friendly as well. And next topic is about most new passenger vehicles could be electric by 2050, and this topic is very important. So electric passenger vehicles that could comprise about 30% and 75% of this new vehicle sales in India by 2030 and 2050. Okay, so according to study by this Council on Energy, Environment and Water, it mainly said that electric vehicles percentage is going to be increased, okay, by 30% by 2030 and 75% by 2050. And we are mainly focusing on investment in this electric vehicles, especially regarding charging infrastructure, and we need to focus on local supply chain development, and we need to focus on giving some support from both central government and as well as state government regarding the rapid growth of this electric vehicle sales. And because of increasing of income levels and because of impact of energy demand and emissions on this transport sector, especially we are focusing on how to increase this electric vehicles usage. And if you come back and if you move forward, so in this page there is nothing much important, and here in this business page you can see one article regarding volatile rupee moves and what are the steps that are going to be taken by RBI. And next topic is regarding sugar output to rise by 5 lakh tons in the next season. So it is said by ISMA. So sugar production during the next year, that is October 2022 to September 2023, it mainly expected to be 5 lakh tons, which will be higher than the current season. So it is according to Indian Sugar Mills Association estimates. So area under this sugar cane which increased by 4% this year, and because of this we are going to get extra output, right? So ethanol blending, so in the current season, so almost 34 lakh tons of sugar was diverted for this ethanol, and this ethanol blending in this 2022 to 2023 is expected to 12%, and actually the target here is we need to achieve target of 20%. Okay, so this is about this topic, and here you have to know about what are the necessary conditions for the growth of the sugarcane, and you have to know about sugarcane exports and some facts regarding this ISME. So these are some important topics that you have to refer from this today's Hindu newspaper. So I hope you enjoyed this lecture. So subscribe to this Rathod's IAS Academy channel. So if you are new to our channel, and try to hit the bell icon so that you will be getting the regular notifications whenever we are posting the video without any delay. And try to share this video in the WhatsApp groups and as well as Telegram channels, so that will be also beneficial for your friends and even other UPSC aspirants as well. So by this I am concluding. Thank you so much.